Welcome to Transport Vlog. My name is Paul and I'm at the Community Open Day for Waterloo Station. And the day is Sunday the 29th of October and over 1,000 people turned up to check out this new station. Now if you're not a local, Waterloo is one of 7 new underground stations that have been built as part of the Sydney Metro City and South West extension, and it's the first new station to open its doors to the public. The station building is on Raglan Street and Cope Street, and the northern entrance on Raglan Street looks like this. And here is a closer view from the other side of the hoardings. This entrance is deliberately set back to create a wider pavement and plaza area on Raglan Street. And above the entrance are these distinctive vertical finned panels, and these are for station ventilation. The building continues around the corner into Cope Street, and there is a southern entrance at the other end, and I refer to this as the Cope Street entrance. And from this part of Cope Street, there are a few steps up to this entrance, and there is a very good reason for this that will be explained later. And this is how the Cope Street entrance looks, along with the pedestrian plaza in front of it. And this plaza will have a ramp for step-free access. 2 pedestrian paths from Botany Road will also connect into this plaza, and around the station and plaza will be a number of overstation developments, and I'll talk more about those later. When Waterloo Station opens in 2024, access will be via the Raglan Street entrance only, with the Cope Street entrance and plaza opening a few months later. Now coming into the station from Raglan Street, and you can see the escalators on your left. The lifts are to the right of the escalators and towards the Cope Street exit, and you'll see these on the right. And behind the lifts and below the entrance level is a very large secure bicycle parking facility, and it's accessible from the 2 lifts by pressing the B1 button. This bicycle parking facility is not yet finished, so I'll show you this when the station opens next year. Now looking from the Cope Street entrance, with the lifts now on the left, and these glass units on either side are likely to be for retail. And in this area I met up with someone that's been on my channel before. So I've got Hugh Lawson here, Project Director for Sydney Metro City and South West. He's going to take us on a bit of a tour of the new Waterloo Station.
Welcome. So behind this banner, this is where one of the remaining artworks will be going in. This is still being fabricated, which is why this wall looks a little bit bare.
And up above is a very impressive diamond-shaped ceiling, and getting it up there was quite a process, as Hugh now explains.
So these are all individually installed diamonds. So first we put the ceiling up, then wired all of the equipment and speakers and lights in. Then the team here from John Holland, who've been building the station, have installed by hand every single one of those diamonds and had to make sure they line up perfectly. And I think you can see now, if you look around into the light, it looks absolutely incredible. And I think that's one of the things with these stations. They are breathtaking, but the photos don't do it justice. You've really got to come as a customer would and walk through these spaces and experience them to really get what it's all about. I mean, the finish is just incredible. The workmanship's brilliant.
So if you missed out on this open day, then do come and explore this and all the other new Sydney Metro stations when they open next year. So now heading down to the concourse below via one of these 3 escalators. And as you descend, you'll see some artwork on this wall on the right.
The artwork you'll see here is about 50% complete. If you look carefully, particularly when you come up, you'll be able to see the holes we've drilled and the markings for the remaining feet to go in. But all the artwork here is by an Aboriginal artist called Nicole Monks. And she's worked with the local community and knowledge holders on all of the artwork that's going in here.
The concourse level is now very much in view and has a similar layout to some of the Metro North West stations such as Castle Hill, but as you'll see in a moment, it's much larger. So we're now down at the concourse level. As you can see, it's very wide, very spacious. You've got a very light coloured wall on this side, and then on the other side, it's much more bronze-like, maybe reflecting the industry of this area in the past. So I've got Luke here. Luke is the delivery director for this station and also Martin Place. So Luke's going to tell us a little bit about the wall here on the side of the escalator with the art on it.
Yeah, so this is one of the more complex parts from a structural engineering perspective on the build for the station. So it's actually a shear wall, which means it's hung from those planks at the top there, if you can see the beams across and the planks infilling it. It's hung off the beams completely in the air. So it actually stops here and doesn't actually continue down to the station below. So this is one of the most challenging parts, and it's working very hard, this wall. And you can see on the wall itself our artwork by Nicole Monks. So we've got 1,000 feet up on the wall there. Yep. That are arranged to form a map of the local area, which was consulted with the local Indigenous community. And we've got 30 different feet were scanned and put together to produce 1 foot, which is up on the wall there.
To the left of the escalators is another piece of artwork, which Hugh will now explain.
You can see the third of the pieces of public art here. A really impressive perforated steel picture. So that's 9.7 metres by 9.7 metres perforated steel mesh panels to create that image of a young Aboriginal man.
So to recap, there are 3 pieces of public art: the one on the entrance wall that is yet to arrive, the feet artwork visible from the escalators, which is about half finished, and the young Aboriginal man on the concourse. And the artist for all 3 of these is Nicole Monks. To the left of the escalators are the lifts that come down from the entrance level, and these are the lifts that also serve the bicycle storage facility. I was hoping I could be the first person to tap on at Waterloo Station, but unfortunately they've turned them off.
Once you come through the gate line, you've got the choice of taking the lifts or escalators down to the platform. So there's 2 pairs of escalators at each end of the concourse from the lifts are in the centre here. They'll take you down to the platforms. Once you're on the platforms, they're 25 metres below ground level, but you can see just the incredible space we've got here, you know, a really different experience to some of the other busy CBD stations. So Waterloo's pretty special.
The architects for this station are John McCaslin and Partners, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because they also designed parts of the upgraded central station, including the iconic new northern concourse roof canopy. The lighter coloured walls on the Cope Street side are made of glass reinforced concrete, and these give a nod to the Sydney sandstone that surrounds the station box. And above these are what appear to be skylights, but actually they're not. They are in fact artificial light panels that simulate the effect of natural light, and this seems to work. But there is one skylight to bring in some real natural light from the plaza above. It's covered over at the moment, but this is where it is. The bronze walls on the Botany Road side are made of perforated aluminium panels, and if you look closely you'll see some subtle artwork that includes the leaves and seed pods of the local Banksia scrub that is common in this area. So the toilets are a little bit funky. Come and follow me and I'll show you what I mean. And these are right at the back of the concourse on the left. So first up, you need to wave it to open, like that. And when you go inside, almost looks like something from a hotel room. Once the door is closed, you then wave to lock, and that's now locked. And then wave to open, and that's now opened. And if you don't lock the door correctly, then this could happen. Oh, sorry. The decision to use contactless buttons was made during the COVID-19 pandemic, and Sydney Metro are now considering replacing these with normal buttons. So would you prefer to wave or press? Let me know in the comments. So now heading down to the island platform, which as Hugh mentioned earlier is about 25 metres below ground, and this station shares some similarities with Barangaroo, as Hugh will now explain.
So we've got a few different configurations at the different stations, but this is quite similar, for example, to Barangaroo, where you've got kind of this arrangement with the lifts in the centre.
Okay, so now on the platforms. The platform is 10 metres wide, 170 metres long, and it feels a lot lighter in area maybe compared to some of the stations on Sydney Metro North West. It's hard to capture how wide this island platform is on camera, but it's clearly designed with future capacity in mind, and you really notice the sense of space. It also seems significantly lighter too, when compared to the underground stations on Metro North West, and I reckon that's the result of the colours of the materials used. This station has full height platform screen doors, and above them are more of the bronze panels, and the design of these is based on a stone blade that was found during the archaeological excavation. The use of these full height platform screen doors, along with the walls above, creates a physical barrier between the station and the rail tunnels. This helps manage station airflow and temperature, as well as the obvious safety benefits. All of the 7 new underground stations on the Sydney Metro City and South West extension will have these full height platform screen doors, and they are very similar, if not identical, to the ones used at Norwest Hill Showground and Castle Hill on Sydney Metro North West. However, one thing they don't have is the strip lighting along the bottom that illuminates when a train is approaching. You can see these on the Metro North West platform screen doors, and although the lighting looks kinda cool, it hasn't worked as well as expected, so isn't being installed on the new City and South West stations.
This is the finished article. Like, everything here is complete. This is as customers will experience it. Signage is in, bins are in, help points are in, The passenger information displays are up. We're obviously in the process of testing all of those at the moment and testing with the trains, but from a construction perspective, the platforms are, the finished platforms.
In the area around the escalators, you can look up and get glimpses of the concourse above. And from the northern escalators, that includes the artwork of the young Aboriginal man, which is a nice touch. So the 170 metre length platforms, is that standard for all the stations? Yeah,
they're all the same. A lot of the station boxes are about 220 or 240 metres long.
Yeah.
And the extra space at each end is where we've got a lot of back of house equipment rooms, the platform screen door control rooms, communication, radio, high voltage and low voltage power, tunnel ventilation, and all the ventilation control systems, plus things like the fire stairs, maintenance accesses and the like. So they're all in the areas behind. Generally, you probably only see as a customer about a third of the space or the volume within the stations. About 2/3 is not seen by the customers, but all the bits that are critical to run the railway.
So as Hugh just said, 2/3 of the station are non-public areas, and that surprised me. So let's unpack this. The Waterloo station box is about 220 metres long, and as you now know, the platform is 170 metres in length. So that's 50 metres of non-public space, probably 25 metres at each end. And the station box is 25 metres wide, with the platform using 10 metres of that space, so that's less than half. The tracks take up some of the remaining space, which leaves a large area on either side for cabling, equipment and systems. And when you include the space above the entrance building and this separate services building, which I'll come back to later, it becomes obvious that 2/3 of the station will never be seen by people like you and I. And on that note, let's check out the platform lifts. Okay, so one thing I noticed is how wide the lifts are. And the capacity is 27 people. And this brings us back to the concourse level. And if you're a construction nerd, you're going to love this next bit.
So over here we've got a few time-lapse films running of some of the construction, including the tunnelling, and then the John Holland team that have obviously done the construction here have got these photos up of all of the work over the past few years. They actually got on site here around October 2020.
Right, okay,
that's when they mobilised here. But before then, between the end of the tunnelling and when the John Holland team started constructing the stations, we used Waterloo to actually drop a lot of the steel for the tracks down into the box here. We welded it here and then ran the long lengths into the tunnels in either direction. So this was one of the key points where we actually started the track construction in the tunnels from, before the station contractor got in and started to build the station itself. So you can see here a lot of the photos from, base slabs, the precast units for the platforms going in, which are some of the first pieces of work, the first beams going in, precast beams, escalators. We had to get the escalators installed really early in this job and actually build the rest of the station around it. We knew that you kind of have to sort of progressively close up and build your way in. So the escalators can be taken out in the future for maintenance, but much easier for us to drop them in when you've got a big hole above.
I then had a fascinating chat with Luke about the construction of the station box.
The box itself is actually what we call tanked. Because the water table's so high in the area, we have quite a lot of flooding. We make it completely watertight. So it's almost a bit like a bathtub. So it's sealed fully around, and also at the bottom we have tension piles which hold it down to stop it. It's a bit like turning it into a ship to stop it popping out of the ground. So that was actually one of the biggest challenges for the build as well. The walls are so thick to stop all that water pressure coming in.
I noticed particularly at the Cope Street side that the entrance is actually raised a little bit, and that's to do with floodwater as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so we, as well as building it above the flood levels, we raise it in local areas to stop localised flash flooding coming into the station.
Now back to Hugh to talk about the lifts and escalators for this and the other new Sydney Metro stations.
Sydney Metro awarded a framework contract to TK, ThyssenKrupp, and so they've provided the lifts and escalators across all of the city and southwest. That was a framework, so each contractor at each location has then subcontracted TK, but to a consistent specification, same product. They basically had like a call off to say, I want X number of these escalators and I want them at this point in time, and those sorts of things.
So basically they're the same style of escalator at all the stations, including Central?
At Central, we had a slightly different specification for some of the escalators and lifts in the Sydney trains areas, but look, to most members of the public, they would look identical. And certainly across all of the metro elements, they are the same specification, they're identical.
Okay, this is Geek Talk. Luke is going to tell us some geeky stuff about this station and City Metro generally.
Yeah, so here at Waterloo, we've got 90 kilometres of cabling. So that's about 136 laps of the Sydney Football Stadium, to put it into context. We have about 2,000 fire sprinklers across the station, approximately 1,500 light fittings that you see around, 139 ventilation fans. What else do I have? That's about it.
So Hugh, one question I wanted to ask you is, where are we with the actual train testing?
Yeah, so with the stations looking pretty much complete, as you can see, the focus is on testing all of the systems in the stations, in the tunnels, on the trains together as part of the whole railway. That's like the railway level testing. With the trains themselves, we started dynamic testing back in April.
Remember that
That's
now,
been,
yeah.
big milestone achieved there.
Yeah.
Obviously, since then, we've built up to full line speed. We're now testing various other bits of functionality of the systems. Essentially, the system's already at the point where the trains are moving automatically. That's part of what we're checking.
Yeah, exactly.
The automatic train speed control, the stopping positions work, that they come into the platforms, the doors open correctly. That all needs to be part of testing the automated bit of the system.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so at the moment we have up to one train in each tunnel.
Yeah.
But as we've now progressively tested the system, we'll soon be moving to what we call multi-train testing. So that's then starting to test trains following other trains within the tunnel, that they're keeping the appropriate distance, that if something happens with one train, the other trains stop, and those sorts of things. So just constantly building and building and building. That's the aim with all this testing, and integrating more and more of the systems. So integrating things like the tunnel ventilation system, the comms system, the control systems together, checking that they all work.
And just a week later, a metro train completed the first end-to-end run from Tallawong to Sydenham. And that confirmed that trains can seamlessly run from the existing Metro Northwest line to the new City and Southwest extension. And now appearing in the top right is a speeded up version of this first journey from Tallawong to Sydenham. Had to do this. This is something Jeff Marshall does, and if you haven't seen his videos, he's a London YouTuber. Do check his videos out. I'll put a link up here to his channel. But while I'm on this escalator, just summing up the station, I love the materials they've used, and really spacious. Can't wait to see it open, really. As Hugh said earlier, the station is about 95% complete, and some of the remaining work includes finishing the canopies above the entrances and along Cope Street. And Cope Street has been closed for the last few months to assist with the station construction and to build this wider pavement. And this work on the left is to create spaces for accessible parking, kiss and ride, and a taxi rank. The new wider pavement will provide access to the plaza, and just here is where the skylight into the concourse is located. And on the other side of the plaza is the services building, and this continues along Cope Street and into Wellington Street. From the plaza, you can see the northern part of this services building, which has this striking facade. This also uses perforated materials, and it illustrates Waterloo's historic marshlands and was designed from early maps of the area. And it's been done in a way that seems to blend in with the back of the Waterloo Congregational Church that is right next door. The ground floor area below the canopies is for retail and may well be for a restaurant or cafe, as this artist impression image illustrates. Beyond the likely cafe or restaurant is the central part of the services building, and then on the front corner with Wellington Street, where this canopy is, will be another retail outlet. This is more likely to be a convenience store, as you can see from this artist impression image. The services building is also set back from Cope Street so that a wider pavement can be accommodated in front of it. Above the retail outlet are the vertical fin panels for station and tunnel ventilation systems, and their design looks similar to the fins above the two station entrances, but as silver rather than bronze. Part of this building on Wellington Street has this lovely brick finish that gives a nod to some of the older and perhaps more industrial buildings in this area. This side of the services building that faces Botany Road seems quite bare, with a few vertical fins in place towards the northern end and not much else. It will be interesting to see how this side will look when it's completed. I'm going to finish off with a quick overview of the over-station development, and this is called Waterloo Metro Quarter. This will include a commercial development that will be built on top of the station entrance building. Appearing around the edge of the roof are the very beginnings of this future building. To the west of this will be a new street called Raglan Walk, or maybe Raglan Lane, and then a commercial office tower. And from the station, you can see that excavation work has started for this building, and it looks like a smaller version of a station box. To the south of this building will be another new street called Grit Lane, and as you can see, it connects Botany Road with the Cope Street station entrance and plaza. And south of this street will be a community building with a residential tower above it. This is where it will be, and work has yet to start on this. Between this and the church will be another street called Shear Way, and this connects Botany Road with the plaza and services building, cafe or restaurant. And then above the services building will be social housing, and work has already started on this. And this is particularly obvious when looking from the Wellington Street and Botany Road corner. West of the services building will be a new student housing development, and work has yet to start on this. And finally, there will be another new street called Church Lane, which of course is named after the Waterloo Congregational Church, which has continued to remain open for the duration of the construction works. So that's the very early stages of Waterloo Metro Quarter, and the new Waterloo Station is going to be right in the heart of this exciting new development, and will be ready and waiting to transport the many people that will call this area home or their new place of work. A big thank you to Hugh and Luke for sharing their knowledge and experience on camera, and I certainly learnt heaps from them, and I'm sure you did too. And also thanks to Jim and Noel for being my camera crew, and their footage from different angles literally added an extra dimension to this video. So that's Waterloo Station, and as you can see it's pretty much complete, but there's lots of testing and commissioning work to happen before it opens to the public. So if you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and please leave a comment or question below, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.